Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to another wonderful commentary video. And today we're going to be talking again about the wonderful subject of the skill-based matchmaking and how I feel about it now that it's been out for about a week here, and how, I'm taking to it and why I fundamentally think it doesn't work despite my feelings about it. So firstly, I wanted to say that my experience with skill-based matchmaking has not actually been that terrible. Which is weird, and we'll get to the why I still think it sucks. I still don't want it in the game, and I'm going to explain that. So don't dislike the video or turn away just because I said that. Just through my personal experience, I come from a background of competitive gaming. It's just part of my past. So it's something I still enjoy. So this kind of this gloves off kind of go ahead. Rush the gens, or go ahead, camp the hook, go ahead, proxy camp, go ahead, tunnel, because all bets are off now. That kind of mentality is kind of weirdly exciting in a way, because if somebody sweats, it's oh, why'd you sweat? And it's skill-based matchmaking. You're oh. But if somebody doesn't sweat, you're skill-based matchmaking, I want a D rank, and you're oh, So it's kind of you don't really lose in a weird kind of way, because if you win, you're going to get more exciting, more tough matches. But if you lose, you're going to have easier, more fun matches. So it's just kind of I don't know. It's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. I think to a certain extent, it does work just in that regard. And I like that the matches have been more intense to some extent. But we're going to talk about why I still think it's not good for the game. So the main thing that I think why that skill-based matchmaking should not be in the game still is because, despite the fact that I do enjoy that the matches are more intense, just because I like a more competitive experience, I don't think this game is stable enough, and I mean that multiple ways. I don't think it's stable enough to support a competitive environment. I mean that mostly in two ways. One, by literally stable. There's so many bugs in this game that you can't have that consistent who's the best man. The whole point of a skill-based matchmaking is the best man wins, and our system is reading that, right? If there's a lot of bugs and glitches in the game that could literally rob you, when you hit somebody and they fall inside a wall and you can't pick them up, that affects things, right? That person is going to possibly escape and increase their MMR, and I'm gonna get worse MMR because that person abused a bug. There's nothing I could do about that, but the game's still gonna measure it the same way. We had we were playing I think it was last week, Wednesday, we were playing a killer stream. A Claudette wiggled off my shoulders while I was playing Pinhead, and within 3 seconds she was across the map doing the lament configuration, doing the box, which is literally impossible, because I looked and I saw literally no scratch marks leading that direction at all when she wiggled them off my shoulder, because I spent time searching the area because I literally saw no scratch marks. So I'm oh, she's just crouching nearby, and then within 3 or 4 seconds she's across the map doing the lament configuration without any scratch marks or anything. So hacking and soft hacking has been a problem in the game for quite some time. But I think we're seeing it more because obviously those people probably have higher MMR because they're doing shady stuff like that, right? So that's another reason that it's not sound mechanically. The game itself is not stable, whether that be glitches, people hacking it. It's just not a stable game. So you can't really determine who the best man is if there's a ton of glitches, or if the game is very susceptible to hacking. Now, the second reason, and what I will say is probably the main reason that I think skill-based matchmaking is not good for this game, because it's not stable, as I mean not stable in the sense that it's not consistent. This game is very, very RNG based and very, very unbalanced on purpose. We could take the spawn of the map, which I think is one of the best maps in the game, Cold Tower, and sometimes Cold Tower can spawn a giant dead zone. And if you go down a bunch and you don't survive, because there was just nothing for you to work with as a survivor, just because of the random map spawn, your MMR goes down. Just because the map decided to spawn without a lot of resources for you to work with. Just get better for it. But on the flip side, I've also seen Cold Tower spawn double pallets more than once. It doesn't happen very often, but I have seen it happen, and it's really hilarious. So conversely, I'm playing killer, I'm trying to chase people, and they just keep going to the double pallets. They keep going to the double pallets. I obviously am not having efficient chases. I'm not getting my 4K because the map is really strong. So my MMR goes down because of the map spawn. And this is the same map. The reason why MMR works in other games, let's take fighting games for example. Fighting games is good for this because in fighting games, the stages are mostly the same. I know sometimes like Tekken and stuff does like weird different stages with like you can knock people off. For the most part, the stages are mostly static in fighting games. And the reason that is because you're trying to determine who the best man is, right? And you don't want the stage interfering. Also, the movesets are mostly static in fighting games. Like, M. Bison doesn't come into a match without his best move sometimes. Or he doesn't come into the match with stronger moves randomly. Like, that's not really a thing. And, like, DBD has all those things. The map can be strong, the map could be weak. The survivors could bring strong perks, or they could bring weak perks. Like there's so much that is just based on chance and luck and RNG, and just so happens to bring a bunch of toolboxes, just so happens to bring an iridescent add-on to the killer power. Like, there's so many variables, and it wouldn't be bad if the skill-based matchmaking accounted for these things, but it doesn't. The only thing that the MMR takes account of is the time of the match and kills and escapes. So it's not taking into account any of these RNG elements, any of these random elements of the game. These variables, it's not taking into account any of these variables. It's not taking into account like any of these variables, but it's measuring them and determining the best man based off of variables that are in the game that it's just not measuring. And I think until they can find a way to do that, the skill-based matchmaking will always be a failure. And anybody who dislikes it, I feel like they have a bunch of legs to stand on. I feel like they're totally right. Even though my experience subjectively has not been too terrible with it, and I kind of like it a little bit, I think objectively it's not great just because it doesn't fit in a game with this many variables that aren't being accounted for, that are so unbalanced and so RNG based. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, friendos. That is my current take on the skill-based matchmaking. I know we made a couple of videos based on like, oh, this is gonna suck. And I want to do a little bit of follow-up now that it's been out for a little while to, kind of touch base with you about how I feel about it. I do kind of like it subjectively, but I don't think it works. And I do not think that it should be in the game just because there's too many rogue variables that it's not taking into account. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out and watching, friendo. Hopefully you liked this video. Am I okay? Hopefully you liked this video. If you do like the video, there's a way to like that, like down here. If you want to hang around for a while, you could sub. I am trying to reach that 1K, that sweet 1K, so I would really appreciate your help with that. You can take it away if you don't end up liking me because it's not permanent. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and if I don't see you in the next one, I'll see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.